Joining me now is the Labour MP and member of the Brexit Select Committee, Seema Malhotra, and the Conservative MP and member of the European Research Group, Daniel Kawaczynski. Welcome to you both. I mean, I have to say there's an odd agreement, I suspect, between the two of you. Neither of you like the deal that's been brought back. Is that right?
I think that's absolutely right. In fact, Theresa May has achieved a feat that at the start of this process I didn't think would be possible, in that she's united many who voted Remain and many who voted Leave against her deal. And the truth is, the very sad fact is that this isn't a deal that's in the interests of our country. It's a deal that is set to make not just my constituents worse off, but also her constituents and people across the country. And I think it's important to make this point that there's new research out today showing that our country could be 100 billion worse off by 2030. She has yet to come clean about how much of an economic impact she thinks her deal will have. But that's going to be subject to a lot of scrutiny as well in Parliament this week.
And you don't like this deal either?
Well, I think Seema's being slightly unfair to the Prime Minister. Negotiating with the European Union is a nightmare at the best of times.
Any better or worse than her own cabinet and party?
It's extremely difficult negotiating with them. What I would say that I disagree with in this deal and have real reservations about, and I've been thinking about it very intensely over the last few days, is the Irish backstop issue. When you have fellow citizens of this United Kingdom saying to you that there is a circumstance whereby they will be treated in a different way to the rest of the United Kingdom, that's something that you have to take very, very seriously indeed. And the probability of that backstop being used is something that over the next few days and weeks we really have to get under the skin of, because it would be completely unacceptable.
Of course, you could say on that they're protesting too much. After all, they have a different parliament, different political system. Agricultural goods are already checked going in and out. They want variants on VAT. They have different rules on social issues such as abortion. So to suddenly get all fussy about wanting a difference is a bit of an excuse, isn't it?
Well, of course there are differences between England, Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland within our own United Kingdom domestic framework, within our own United Kingdom domestic framework. The idea that a third party, a foreign entity, will be able to impose rules and regulations on the part of the United Kingdom and not the rest of it is a thin end of the wedge.
Are you worried about that?
I'm very worried about what will happen over time in Ireland. But the difficulty here that I don't think Daniel and the ERG have really faced up to is that this is a border that faces two ways. And for the first time, it's going to be a border between in some recent past, the first time it's going to be a border between the European Union and a third country. So we have to have some clarity over what we're going to do to square that circle. It is an incredibly difficult circle to square, not least with our responsibilities under the Good Friday Agreement as well.
What do you think, if you don't like this deal, what's the alternative in realistic terms?
I think there are a number of options available, and the problem is that Theresa May has brought this on. Well, there are three clear options, but I think there's a very important point to make about how we've reached this point, because Theresa May made a choice at the beginning, which is to not involve Parliament and the country in the whole process. How is it that
Parliament has been involved, though? There's been a withdrawal. I mean, I'm more interested. We've reached the point where we are. I'm more interested in what you see as the alternative.
Yes, but there's an important point here, Adam, which I think we're in danger of missing. 27 EU nations signed a deal in a day. Theresa May is now writing an open letter to the nation. She was taken to court as to whether Parliament should have a say on even the vote
I understand all this, but I think
so she hasn't involved us through the process.
Point, which was now 123 days away from leaving.
Exactly.
You're saying you don't like this deal. I'm asking what the practical alternative
three options. And I think this is a really...
Well, which three options?
Well, the first is extending of Article 50 potentially. If there is no deal that gets through Parliament, that is going to have to be a serious consideration, because none of us want to leave with no deal. And in fact, I believe that Parliament will need to find a way to stop that. Secondly, if we...
So that's staying, basically?
No, extending Article 50 is staying for a period of time. Secondly, whether we go back to the country, and I think this is becoming increasingly important as a choice, because what's different is that people have much more information about what leaving the European Union means, what it would mean for food prices. Daniel said that food prices would go down during the referendum, but actually all the evidence shows that they are going up, and in fact the Food and Drink Federation said exactly the same last week. And the third could be
Delay people's referendum.
The issue of the referendum being between her deal and remaining in the European Union and reforming the European Union from within. The third option could be an alternative, like staying in an EEA plus arrangement, which is a different destination. At the moment, we don't have an alternative destination, and what we have in the political declaration is nothing more than a blind
All
Brexit.
right, do you think any of those options are viable?
No, because they don't properly give the British people what they voted for.
So what are your
so
options?
what the Prime Minister has done so far is probably the closest that realistically we can get to a deal. It's this Irish backstop. She has what she has.
You sound like you might be persuaded to back her. I mean, you're not putting forward an alternative.
Well, I'm having public meetings in my constituency later this week with members, party members, and also members of my constituency. I'm engaging directly with the electorate to hear their views. But for me, so far, and I reiterate the point, is she will have to assess how many Tory MPs, like me, she can get across the finishing line on the second vote, if she loses the first vote. But some of us will be influenced by this Irish backstop issue, because we simply cannot have a system whereby, I mean, Seema talks about other countries in the European Union having borders with non-EU countries. That's absolutely right. But under no circumstances are any of those countries allowing any part of their sovereign territory to be administered in a different way. That's completely unacceptable for us. We have to ensure that Northern Ireland is treated in the same way as Shrewsbury or any other part of the United Kingdom. They are British territory.
You have 400,000 vehicles that go, commercial vehicles, a month going between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. They're so integrated in their supply chain. You have to have a way in which you're realistically dealing with that question. And I don't believe there's been any proper solution coming from the ERG.
Thank you both. We're going to leave it there. Thank you.